Chapter 2 Charisma. The first impression can seal the deal. Quote number 1. How can you have charisma? Be more concerned about making others feel good about themselves than you are making them feel good about you. That was from Dan Ryland, the Vice President of Leadership Development. Enjoy. Quote number 2. I have yet to find the man, however exalted his station, who did not do better work and put forth greater effort under a spirit of approval than under a spirit of criticism. That was Charles Schwab, an industrialist. Chapter 2. The cleverest in England. During the second half of the 19th century, two strong men vied for the leadership of Great Britain's government, William Gladstone and Benjamin Disraeli. The two politicians were intense rivals. You can detect how they felt about each other based on a comment once made by Disraeli. The difference between a misfortune and a calamity? If Gladstone fell into the Thames, which is a river, it would be a misfortune. But if someone dragged him out again, it would be a calamity. Many people believe that Gladstone, leader of the Liberal Party for 3 decades, personified the best qualities of Victorian England. A career public servant, he was a great orator, a master of finance, and a staunchly moral man. He was made Prime Minister of the United Kingdom 4 different times, the only person in the nation's history to achieve that honor. Under his leadership, Great Britain established a national education system, instituted parliamentary reform, and saw the vote given to a significant number of people in the working classes. Benjamin Disraeli, who served twice as Prime Minister, had a different kind of background. In his 30s, he entered politics and built a reputation as a diplomat and social reformer, but his greatest accomplishment was masterminding Great Britain's purchase of shares in the Suez Canal. Though both men accomplished much for Britain, what really separated them as leaders was their approach to people. The difference can be illustrated by a story told by a young woman who dined with the two rival statesmen on consecutive nights. When asked her impression of them, she said, "When I left the dining room after sitting next to Mr. Gladstone, I thought he was the cleverest man in England. But after sitting next to Mr. Disraeli, I thought I was the cleverest woman in England." Disraeli possessed a quality that drew people to him and made them want to follow him. He had charisma. Fleshing it out. Most people think of charisma as something mystical, almost undefinable. They think it's a quality that comes at birth or not at all. But that's not true. Charisma, plainly stated, is the ability to draw people to you. And like other character traits, it can be developed. To make yourself the kind of person who attracts others, you need to personify these pointers. 1. Love life. People enjoy leaders who enjoy life. Think of the people you want to spend time with. How would you describe them? Grumpy? Bitter? Depressed? Of course not. They're celebrators, not complainers. They're passionate about life. If you want to attract people, you need to be like the people you enjoy being with. 18th century evangelist John Wesley recognized that, saying, "When you set yourself on fire, people love to come and see you burn." 2. Put a 10 on every person's head. One of the best things you can do for people, which also attracts them to you, is to expect the best of them. I call it putting a 10 on everybody's head. It helps others think more highly of themselves, and at the same time, it also helps you. According to Jack Weisel, a survey of 100 self-made millionaires showed only one common denominator. These highly successful men and women could only see the good in people. Benjamin Disraeli understood and practiced this concept, and it was one of the secrets of his charisma. He once said, "The greatest good you can do for another is not just to share your riches, but to reveal to him his own." If you appreciate others, encourage them, help them reach their potential, and they'll love you for it. Number 3. Give people hope. French General Napoleon Bonaparte characterized leaders as dealers in hope. Like all great leaders, he knew that hope is the greatest of all possessions. If you can be the person who bestows that gift on others, they will be attracted to you, and they will be forever grateful. Number 4. Share yourself. People love leaders who share themselves and their life journeys. As you lead people, give of yourself. Share your wisdom, resources, and even special occasions. That's one of my favorite things to do. For example, I recently went to an annual storytelling festival in Jonesburg, Tennessee. It was something I had wanted to do for years, and when I was finally able to work it into my schedule, My wife, Margaret, and I took 2 leaders from my staff and their wives. We had a wonderful time. And more importantly, I was able to add value to their lives by spending special time with them. When it comes to charisma, the bottom line is other-mindedness. Leaders who think about others and their concerns before thinking of themselves exhibit charisma. Reflecting on it. How would you rate yourself when it comes to charisma? Are other people naturally attracted to you? Are you well liked? If not, you may possess one of these roadblocks to charisma. Pride. Nobody wants a leader who thinks he's better than everyone else. Insecurity. If you're uncomfortable with who you are, others will be as well. Moodiness. If people never know what to expect from you, they stop expecting anything. Perfectionism. People respect the desire for excellence, but dread totally unrealistic expectations. Cynicism. People don't want to be rained on by somebody who sees a cloud over every silver lining. If you can stay away from these qualities, you can cultivate charisma. Bringing it home. To improve your charisma, do the following. Change your focus. Observe your interaction with people over the next few days. As you talk to others, determine how much of your conversation is concentrated on yourself. Determine to tip the balance in favor of focusing on others. Play the impression game. Try an experiment. Next time you meet someone for the first time, try your best to make a good impression. Learn the person's name. Focus on their interests. Be positive. And most important, treat them as a 10. If you can do this for a day, you can do it every day. And that will increase your charisma overnight. Share yourself. Make it your long-term goal to share your resources with others. Think about how you can add value to 5 people in your life this year. They can be family members, colleagues, employees, or even just friends. Provide resources to them to help them grow personally and professionally, and share your personal journey with them. Daily takeaway. Pearl Mesta, the greatest Washington hostess since Dolly Madison, was asked the secret of her success in getting so many rich and famous people to attend her parties. "It's all about the greetings and goodbyes," she replied. When a guest arrived, she met him, saying, "At last you're here." And as each left, she said, "I'm sorry you have to leave so soon." Her agenda was to focus on others and not herself. And that is charisma. Chapter 3. Commitment. It separates the doers from the dreamers. Quote number 1. People don't follow uncommitted leaders. Commitment can be displayed in a full range of matters to include the work hours you choose to maintain, how you work to improve your abilities, or what you do for your fellow workers at personal sacrifice. And that was by Stephen Gregg, Chairman and CEO of Ethics Corp. Quote number 2. He who has done his best for his own time has lived for all times. And that's Johann von Schiller, and he's a playwright. Old before his time. A couple of years ago, my wife Margaret and I had the opportunity to vacation in Italy. Our 2 greatest priorities were food and art. To find the finest food, we talked to friends who had been there. To see the finest artwork, we enlisted the help of a fantastic guide who's a buyer of New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art. During that tour, we saw many great pieces of artwork, but none struck me the way that Michelangelo's David did. And that's when I understood why it's called a masterpiece. Michelangelo lived an incredible life, possibly the greatest artist of Western civilization, and certainly the most influential. He was born to sculpt. He once said that when he drank his wet nurse's milk as a baby, along with it came a love for the stonecutter's tools. He sculpted his first mature masterpiece at age 21. He completed his Pieta and David before age 30. In his early 30s, Michelangelo was summoned to Rome by Pope Julius II to sculpt a magnificent papal tomb, but was then asked to work on a painting project instead. At first, Michelangelo wanted to refuse, having no desire to paint a dozen figures on the ceiling of a small chapel in the Vatican. Though as a boy, he had been trained to paint. His passion was sculpture, but when the Pope pressed him, he reluctantly accepted the assignment. Scholars believe Michelangelo's rivals pushed for him to get the job, hoping he would refuse it and lose favor with the Pope, or take it and discredit himself. But once Michelangelo accepted the assignment, he thoroughly committed to it, expanding the project from a simple depiction of the 12 apostles to include more than 400 figures and 9 scenes from the book of Genesis. For 4 grueling years, the artist lay on his back painting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, and he paid a great price. The work permanently damaged his eyesight and wore him down, Michelangelo said. After 4 tortured years, more than 400 over life-size figures, I felt as old and as weary as Jeremiah, and I was only 37. Yet my friends didn't even recognize the old man that I had become. The impact of Michelangelo's commitment was far-reaching. He pleased his benefactor, the Pope, and received other commissions from the Vatican. But more important, he made a huge impact in the artistic community. His Sistine Chapel frescoes were so boldly painted, so original, so exquisitely executed, that they caused many fellow artists, including the gifted painter Raphael, to alter their style. Art historians maintain that Michelangelo's masterpiece forever changed the course of painting in Europe, and it laid a foundation for his equally important impact on sculpture and architecture. Undoubtedly, Michelangelo's talent created the potential for greatness, but without commitment, his influence would have been minimal. That level of commitment could be seen in his attention to the fine details, as well as the overarching vision. When asked why he was working so diligently on a dark corner of the Sistine Chapel that no one would ever see, Michelangelo's simple reply was, "God will see." Fleshing it out. The world never seen a great leader who lacked commitment. Ed McElroy of US Air spoke of its importance. Commitment gives us new power. No matter what comes to us, sickness, poverty, or disaster, we never turn our eye from the goal. What is commitment? To each person, it means something different. To the boxer, it's getting off the mat one more time than you've been knocked down. To the marathoner, it's running another 10 miles when your strength is gone. To the soldier, it's going over the hill, not knowing what's waiting on the other side. To the missionary, it's saying goodbye to your own comfort to make life better for others. To the leader, it's all that and more because everyone you lead is depending on you. If you want to be an effective leader, you have to be committed. True commitment inspires and attracts people. It shows them that you have conviction. They will believe in you only if you believe in your cause. As the law of buy-in states, people buy into the leader and then the vision. What is the true nature of commitment? Take a look at these 3 observations. Number 1, commitment starts in the heart. Some people want everything to be perfect before they're willing to commit themselves to anything. But commitment always precedes achievement. I'm told that in the Kentucky Derby, the winning horse effectively runs out of oxygen after the first half mile, and he goes the rest of the way on heart. That's why all great athletes recognize its importance. NBA legend Michael Jordan explains that heart is what separates the good from the great. If you want to make a difference in other people's lives as leader, look into your heart and see if you're really committed. Number 2, commitment is tested by action. It's one thing to talk about commitment. It's another to do something about it. The only real measure of commitment is action. Arthur Gordon acknowledged, "Nothing is easier than saying words. Nothing is harder than living them day after day." Someone told me about a newly elected judge who had won office in a special county election. During his acceptance speech, he said, "I wish to thank the 424 people who promised to vote for me. I wish to thank the 316 people who said that they did vote for me. I wish to thank the 47 people who came out last Thursday to vote. And I wish to thank the 26 folks who actually did vote for me." How are you doing when it comes to following through on your commitments? Commitment opens the door to achievement. Number 3. As a leader, you will face plenty of obstacles and opposition, if you don't already. And there will be times when commitment is the only thing that carries you forward. David McNally commented, "Commitment is the enemy of resistance, for it is a serious promise to press on, to get up, no matter how many times you're knocked down. If you want to get anywhere worthwhile, you must be committed." Reflecting on it. When it comes to commitment, there are really only 4 types of people. Cop-outs, people who have no goals and don't commit. Holdouts, people who don't know if they can reach their goals, so they're afraid to commit. Dropouts, people who start towards a goal, but quit when the going gets tough. And all-outs, People who set goals, commit to them, and pay the price to reach them. What kind of person are you? Have you been reaching your goals? Are you achieving all that you believe you can? Do people believe in you and follow you readily? If your answer to any of these questions is no, the problem may be your level of commitment. Bring it home. To improve your commitment, do the following. Measure it. Sometimes we think we're committed to something, yet our actions indicate otherwise. Take out your calendar and check your checkbook register. Spend a few hours tallying up how you spend your time and where you spend your money. Look at how much time you spend at work, in service, with family, in health and recreation activities, and so forth. Figure out how much money you spend on living expenses, entertainment, personal development, and giving. All these things are true measures of your commitment. You may be surprised with what you find. Know what's worth dying for. One of the questions every leader must ask himself is, what am I willing to die for? If it came down to it, what in life would you not be able to stop doing, no matter what the consequences were? Spend some time alone meditating on that thought. Write down what you discover, and see if your actions match your ideals. Use the Edison method. If taking the first step towards commitment is a problem, try doing what Thomas Edison did. When he had a good idea for an invention, he would call a press conference to announce it. Then he'd go into his lab and invent it. Make your plans public, and you might be more committed to follow through with them. Daily takeaway. Former pro basketball player Bill Bradley attended a summer basketball camp at age 15 conducted by Easy Ed Macaulay. During that camp, Macaulay made a statement that changed Bradley's life. Just remember that if you're not working at your game to the utmost of your ability, there will be someone out there somewhere with equal ability. And one day you'll play each other, and he will have that advantage. How do you measure up against that standard? And that's that.